going to say one other thing. Do not let the NRA bully you. This is not a poison pill. The provision in this bill, don't forget who I was married to. John Dingell was on the NRA board. Hell, he helped start it. But all this does, we're not taking away due process. All it does is say that if someone has been convicted as an intimate partner, that they would not have access to a gun. And if someone has been convicted of stalking, you know what I'd say to all of you?
Okay. The gentlewoman's time has expired. The House will be in order.
You know what? You need to not be
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
You need to not be
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Talking. You know what? You can't shout
The
down
House
a
will be in
woman.
order.
This is Congresswoman Debbie Dingell vying for the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which is a 25-year-old bill that funds programs for survivors of domestic and sexual abuse. And up until now, it's enjoyed bipartisan support. But the NRA has turned what should be a common-sense measure into a political referendum, as 157 House Republicans voted against the bill. They objected to a provision that would prohibit those convicted of domestic abuse, assault, or stalking from buying or owning a firearm. The bill also closed what's called the boyfriend loophole. As the law stands now, spouses or former spouses who were convicted of abuse are already prohibited from purchasing a firearm. The new amendment would simply add unmarried partners who, again, were convicted of domestic or sexual abuse from purchasing a gun. The fact that this isn't law now is basically saying that concerns about a dangerous partner are only worth pursuing if you're married. But for example, if your mere boyfriend abuses you and wants to wave around his AR-15, go right ahead. But the NRA and Republicans are objecting to the bill because they've decided that these provisions infringe on the Second Amendment, and that allowing domestic abusers to have guns is, per usual, a slippery slope that will lead to a socialist takeover of the government, and we're not free unless every domestic abuser in America can also own a weapon. NRA spokeswoman Jennifer Baker called the legislation too broad and ripe for abuse, adding, "How it's written right now, you could be convicted for a misdemeanor stalking offense for a tweet that causes someone emotional distress, and then you would be prohibited from owning a firearm." Which, first of all, is not true. The Justice Department defines stalking as being instances of repeated, in visual or physical proximity, non-consensual communication, or verbal, written, or implied threats, or a combination thereof, that would cause a reasonable person fear. So first of all, no, sending an errant tweet is not going to get you put on an evil government blacklist. And second of all, really? That's the hill the NRA wants to die on? Standing up for the poor, defenseless stalkers on Twitter? How about this general advice for people who might want to own a firearm? Just don't stalk people online. See? Easy. But the only thing that allowing these people to own guns is a slippery slope for is completely abandoning survivors of domestic and sexual abuse. Because both here in the United States and around the world, nearly half of women intentionally killed are done so at the hands of intimate partners. Abused women are 5 times more likely to be killed by an abusive partner if he owns a gun, and assaults are 12 times more likely to result in death if a gun is involved. Of the more than 1,800 women killed by men in 2016, 93% happened at the hands of men they knew, and 63% happened at the hands of intimate partners. In fact, women in America are 16 times more likely to be killed by gun violence than other developed countries. And I wonder what the difference between the US and other developed nations is. And this is not just behind closed doors. From 2009 to 2017, 54% of mass shooters shot intimate partners. The Thousand Oaks shooter, the Parkland shooter, the Texas church shooter, the Las Vegas shooter, the Pulse nightclub shooter, the congressional baseball shooter, all had a history of domestic abuse. All were known to be dangerous, with the link between domestic abusers and mass shootings clear, and yet still the NRA is fighting this legislation. Still Republicans are carrying water for these people. So the next time the right promises that their #1 priority is safety, just think about who specifically it is that they're protecting. The people they represent, or the special interest lobby financing their re-election campaigns.